Like when I have a Five Guys burger, I'm like, this is great, except the cheese. I can taste that.
Like you could have a nice slice of like small craft Vermont cheddar on there, but you choose to have.
I don't have a problem with American cheese.
Yeah.
I just have a problem with the fact that all their ingredients are top of the line, except the cheese. You can tell it isn't.
Yeah.
Here comes the theme.
Hello and welcome to the Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and we work our way to the very top. We work our way to 100% fresh. My name's Max.
And his name's Max. And today we're talking The Babadook, rated 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
The Babadook.
Max, what's the plot synopsis for Babadook?
Well, his name is Scott. The plot synopsis is about...
Oh, wait. It's a two-parter.
Oh.
We broke this into two parts, so we got to do like an intro and stuff again. So.
All right. I guess we do.
Yeah. So, welcome back, everyone. How's your Thanksgiving?
It was good.
No, I'm talking to the
Oh.
listeners.
Yeah, mine was fine.
Yeah. We already talked about it.
Well, hopefully you guys had a good Thanksgiving and forgave us this break this little break we took. We got carried away.
We got content out there. We're good.
No, it was good.
We don't need forgiveness.
We got carried away having a really good time discussing some of our good subjects.
Carry away now. That's Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Nice.
What have you been watching, dude?
Well, with this good holiday downtime, I kind of took it easy and relaxed, spent time with some friends and family, and I watched a really good documentary called "Won't You Be My Neighbor."
Oh yeah.
Have you seen it?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
So in the theaters.
Yeah. Everyone I've talked to who's seen it was like, I saw it in theaters. I'm like, I get it. Okay, I didn't. No, but it was amazing. It was amazing.
Wow. That's not what Mr. Rogers would have wanted, how he would have wanted you to react.
Well, I watched it on television technically, so.
Nice.
No, it's really, really good. I suggest it if you have not seen it. It's super emotional.
Oh, yeah.
And it just shows kind of how magical of a person he was and how he engaged with his audience in a way that was respectful and also like on their level without belittling children ever, and just kind of gave a certain importance to them. It's amazing. The few things that really, really hit home with me were it's weird to see the Fox News segments, because I remember when they talked about it, that everyone made fun of him on the internet, but here it just seems so despicable after everything they show you beforehand and how much this man cared. It's even crazier when you think that he was a Christian Republican, like registered Republican. Makes it even more nuts, but I can't even wrap my head around the arguments.
Exactly. Especially because like Mr. Rogers was operating from like the 70s and on.
Yeah.
So it's not like just millennials are fucked up because of Mr. Rogers.
There's a lot there.
Like
that
Brian Kilmeade was also watching Mr. Rogers.
Exactly, yeah. Like,
fucking
turd. My in-laws were like, yeah, we remember watching him too, and you know, like they're right at the age where they would have been in the first generation.
My mom
of kids
met
watching
Mr.
it.
Rogers.
Exactly, yeah. Like, so it's pretty multi-generational, you know? So, no, but there's a lot in there that...
it's a good documentary, though.
I think everyone on our sofa in my family watching it was in tears by the end, and there were parts of it where I was really good and emotionally engaged and like, this is amazing, and then there was a certain part that just kind of killed me. So, but then from then on, it was like just good stuff. I mean, but it's an intense watch.
He's a good role model. He's a good good type of person to model the way you treat others after.
His sincerity.
I could be better about that, you know.
Yeah, I think everyone can. I don't think that's something you just need to, bear the
weight
of.
But you know.
And so I watched that. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, top the class of what I've been watching. So I started watching 90 Day Fiance.
There you go. Just like Mr. Rogers.
Just like he would want.
Yeah, I came in the middle of a season that you guys were watching, and it is trash.
Yeah, it's
and
trash.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I like it.
I got to give credit to our former guest, Paul for All Seasons, for getting me hooked on
Paul.
it. He knew it was just the kind of garbage we would like, and that's probably because the last time he was over, we watched a bunch of To Catch a Predator and Catfish with him.
This is a natural next step.
So it's like, the natural
It is more wholesome than that.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow it is. But yeah, so other than that, I've been just sticking on my my Parks and Rec rewatch. And
how far are you guys now? What just happened?
I think the next episode is the actual election between her and Bobby Newport.
Gotcha.
So
Bobby Newport. Bobby Newport. Like the
Bobby Newport.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of from season 2 through here is probably my favorite chunk of like episodes. It's still good after this.
Yeah.
But
It's its peak though.
yeah, this is like the golden age for me where they just really hit their stride. Everything was running on all cylinders. So just been enjoying it. It's just my go-to.
Right on.
I actually did start watching one other thing.
Oh.
I forgot to mention it. So I'll just go ahead and get this one out real quick.
Okay.
I started watching She-Ra and the Princesses of Power.
You're going to have to describe that for the listeners because I obviously know.
Yeah. No,
but what, for the listeners, what
if
is
you somehow
Shreya and the...
Not Shreya, She-Ra.
She-Ra. Oh, like Thundercats?
Kind of.
He-Man.
He-Man. It's an 80s cartoon. Well, originally there was an 80s cartoon called She-Ra and the Princess of Power. It was based off He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Okay.
She-Ra is Adora. That's who she actually is. And that's Adam, who is He-Man. That's her. She's his twin in the original cartoon.
Okay.
This is all the original 80s stuff. This is not what I've been watching, but the original 80s thing, they have a special episode where he goes and he ends up on a different planet or different universe where his twin sister was stolen to.
Oh.
And basically she's been taken by the evil side and she's their head warrior. He helps free her kind of, and she becomes like a freedom fighter for the innocents on that planet. That's the original series. It was designed so they could tap into the girl market from He-Man.
What have you been watching?
This is She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, which is a new cartoon that is show run by Noelle Stevenson, who got famous a couple years ago on the internet she's like a cartoonist, comic artist.
Yeah.
She was doing a like bro party version of the Lord of the Rings, like little comic strips like that. And she did a bunch of fan art and was getting a bunch of comic work.
Yeah.
She has a very unique, cool art style, and I guess like about a year ago, maybe they made the announcement Netflix was bringing She-Ra, like they were redoing that cartoon. There was a huge controversy at the time from that group of dudes on the internet who just get angry about everything because She-Ra wasn't sexualized in any of the artwork. She was just very strong looking, but still womanly. So of course there was a whole to-do about it.
So there are people who are mad that she wasn't sexualized, or was the original character very sexualized and they were mad about the difference?
In the sense of an 80s cartoon, but it was a kid show, so there wasn't like sexual scenes.
Well, yeah, but Lola Bunny.
She was showing off a little bit more skin than this one does, but it wasn't to the level of Lola Bunny, I will say that. So it was, the big announcement, started watching it. It's real fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's what you expect from kind of like a artist who came up in the Tumblr generation, honestly, who got their own show to like kind of produce, but it's real colorful, real fun. I will say I'm enjoying this a lot more, and they're not really on the level other than being cartoon fantasies. Even though it's more for kids, I think this is a better version of what Disenchanted was trying to do with some fun fantasy. Because this is it's still fantasy, but there's some pop elements to it that, a new creator would bring to a property.
What's the audience for
this one's definitely more for kids and nostalgic adults.
Because Disenchanted is very much
for adults. Yeah. No, I know. But I'm saying I think their take of doing like a cartoon fantasy is stronger here, and it might be because it's more sincere as a kid show. Yeah. So I was just throwing that out there.
Yeah. No, I was just
there's no direct
adding more
it'd be like saying He-Man's a better kid show than The Simpsons, which is probably true. So
what's the audience for He-Man?
But yeah, so
that's good. Yeah,
I normally feel like I don't have a ton to talk about with my.
You do pretty good
lately with my what I've been watching, but I had to step up the plate, man. You know what I'm saying?
No, you've been doing good. Good job.
What about you? I know you got something for me.
I got a couple. I saw the first half hour of Widows.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I had to exit the theater due to some environmental issues I was having. There was an odor that I couldn't stand, and I left because I was starting to.
I hate when external forces keep you from something. Like
and I've had some bad movie experiences. Like one time when I saw Searching a few months ago, the theater was almost empty, and a guy sat right next to me, which already bugged me. I get reserved seats, but 20 minutes in, the theater's empty. Go a row up, go a row down, go anywhere else. But he wasn't wearing shoes.
But did you?
I did after like half an hour.
Okay.
But
I was just making sure that since you said
I had the primo seat, and I was there first.
No, I get you.
So I feel like it was my right.
By rights, he should have been
by rights, yeah. But he took his shoes and socks off, and it was bad.
Yeah.
And there was actually another guy next to me, funny enough. So there was like 8 total people in the theater, 3 of us right there. And I looked over at the guy, and I didn't know the person sitting next to me. I just looked over at him when the guy took his shoes off, and the guy looked at me, and he just like shook his head and like laughed. And then I got up and moved about half an hour in, and so did the other guy.
Yeah.
But he didn't sit next to me.
That'd have been cool.
Like, we had like a growing bond, and then I really felt spurned.
Yeah, but, you know, he probably didn't want to offend you by sitting right next to you.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
Trust me, I get that. But at the same time, you can call me. No, I'm just kidding.
You're like, I thought we had something.
Yeah. But anyways, so I couldn't see Widows. Luckily, Regal refunded my ticket. I didn't expect them to.
Yeah.
I went up to
You
the
never
customer
know
service.
with these groups, yeah.
Well, that's just like
I honestly...
I was in there for like an hour.
I'm not endorsing Regal, but I've never had an issue when I've complained to them about a movie.
I'll endorse Regal. I like Regal.
I stay neutral on the whole battle.
Regal is better than AMC as far as like the one movie theater experience. I enjoy the Regal experience. They were holding out on them buttering the popcorn longer. AMC was very quick to putting the butter onus on the buyer, and Regal held on a little longer, and I respect them for that. Now though, I still have to butter my own popcorn. But they're set up better.
Yeah.
Their popcorn station is closer. 10 feet away from the register. Yeah. AMC, it's 4.5 miles.
Think of it like this, okay? This is a good analogy.
Like a conversation?
I'm actually pretty proud of this analogy.
Okay, yeah.
I've heard people before debate whether or not Delta or American Airlines are better than the other, right? Okay. And people draw sides on it. They'll pick one, you know?
Delta.
I usually fly Delta, I will say. But once I flew international, and I flew like Canadian Airlines, one of their other ones they have. I flew 2 Canadian Airlines and then Lufthansa to Germany. Oh my God. The battle between Delta and American is like child's play compared to how much better these airlines are.
Now, the treatment on an international flight's a little different too, right?
International, if it's a long-term one, yeah. I mean, you're going to get the bed, you're going to get meals, you're going to get like a lot more stuff. Well, not the bed, but the bed accoutrement, like a blanket and a pillow. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, yes, you can debate the merits of these two, but at the end of the day, it's like there are more preferable ideals out there. That
so it's like the
so I'm saying is
Regal versus AMC. They're no Alamo Draft House. You know,
that's what I'm saying. It's like if we had that third option, you would feel so spoiled that you probably would hate both of them.
Well, luckily we have a third option. Airsley Grand Cinemas in Airsley Town Village.
And supporting a local, like, you know, smaller owned company theater is always a good option. Yeah. So we do suggest them.
But I do endorse Regal.
That's fine.
They refunded my ticket.
Yeah. Like I said, I've never actually had customer service issues with them. So I get it.
Circle gets the square.
If you want to see Widows again, I will go with you.
Oh, okay.
We could go this week if you want.
Wow.
I do want to see that.
Sure. The first half hour was interesting.
Anything else you've been watching, though, Scott?
Yeah, I've been watching Godless on Netflix. Oh. It's a series, I believe 2017, maybe 2016.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely 2017. I feel
like it's 2017.
Yeah. But I think it won some like Golden Globies and maybe some Emmys.
It's a shorter one. It's 7 episodes or so.
Yep. It's a limited series is what it's marketed as. And I never fully understand that because sometimes these limited series even have multiple episodes. But it's very good.
I remember we were talking about it the other day when you first mentioned it yesterday. Well, it won't be yesterday when this airs. We were talking about it the other day. And we were talking about how...
When was that?
It was yesterday. Oh. No, we were talking about how Michelle Dockery is in this, and she's from that. But I was trying to remember someone else who's in this show that I like a lot.
Yeah.
And I just looked at the cast, and it's Scoot McNairy.
Yep, Scoot McNairy's in it.
I'm a big fan of his.
Yep, he's very good. But it's a good show. I'm only 3 or 4. I think I'm 3 episodes. I'm either through 3 or 4 episodes. So the story's very intriguing. It's dark. It's not sugarcoating anything. Jeff Daniels is in it. He plays like the primary antagonist. I have some issue with his character just in the sense that I can tell it's Jeff Daniels. Jack O'Connell's in this. Jack O'Connell, I'm pretty sure he's Irish, and he's got, but he sounds great. He sounds Western. Michelle Dockery is as British as they come. That's what my mom said, actually, when we started watching it.
It's a very mom way to describe somebody being British.
And there's cast members from like Game of Thrones in this. They all sound great, but Jeff Daniels still sounds like Jeff Daniels to me, and it's bugging me a bit. It's not really bugging me, but it's noticeable. It's like, here, I'll give you an analogy. It's like a Five Guys burger has great ingredients, you know, but they use like a Kraft single for their cheese. You can taste the processed.
You're saying that they do?
Cheese.
Or...
They do.
Yeah. Okay.
So it stands out to me. Yeah. Like when I have a Five Guys burger, I'm like, this is great, except the cheese. I can taste that. Like how
you
different
could have
it is.
a nice slice of like small Kraft Vermont cheddar on there, but you choose to have.
I don't have a problem with American cheese.
Yeah, yeah.
I just have a problem with the fact that all their ingredients are top of the line, except the cheese. You can tell it isn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, get Boar's Head American. It's great. I've been making grilled cheese sandwiches with it.
But see, Jeff Daniels sometimes is good.
Jeff Daniels is good.
Yeah.
It's solely the accent. Like,
Yeah.
even his acting, the character story is interesting, but his accent and stuff,
he's
it's still
doing
him.
an accent.
He is doing an accent, but it's not like.
Do you think it'd be better if he just did the Jeff Daniels like normal voice?
Because
then he could be like a big city. If he was talking
well,
different, but
yeah, they'd
using
have to change the character.
Yeah,
but
I guess that's true.
no, I like with the other actors like Scoot McNairy. I don't know if where's he from?
He's American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even still, he's got the drawl and everything real good.
Yeah.
And there's something about, maybe it's just because Jeff Daniels can play a really good, like, sophisticated, like, big city guy, like in Newsroom or in Steve Jobs. His characters are like slick.
Yeah.
Like,
I always think of him, even
CEO
though
types. Even though Dumb and Dumber is like
my
his
first
iconic
introduction
role.
it was Dumb and Dumber. I think of him as like the smart guy.
Yeah.
Or I think of him as slimy, like he was in Looper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I hear with him is a big city guy doing an accent, and so I just don't have the total buy-in yet with him. But the character he plays is interesting. There's a lot of different plot threads that sometimes with a show like this, the plot threads will get too sprawly. Like, I think that was a little bit of a problem with Game of Thrones, where like all the Arya stuff was so isolated.
Yeah.
There was no tie to anything else until they brought her back in. With this, they're spreading all the things, but they're not spreading it to the point where you can't follow everything, or where someone's doing something that it's really hard to weave back into the main plot. So I'm enjoying it. It's really good.
That's good.
Yeah.
And that's on Netflix, correct?
That's on Netflix.
Nice.
On a Netflix near you. Yeah. That's really it, though. That and the half hour. Oh, I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Is
that a family tradition, or is that
not really. I know some of my extended family, we've done Thanksgiving with extended family. They do Christmas Vacation. I think that's a pretty common like Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah, like once Christmas starts.
Yeah, which it's an okay movie. It's not my favorite Christmas movie by any means, but I like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles a lot better. When I watched it this time, I don't even think I just said the title right, but I said like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah, Planes, Trains, and Cars, starring Lightning McQueen. Watching it this time, what I noticed most was just how snappy it is. Like, it flies by. It's 90 minutes.
I honestly don't know if I've seen it.
I'm
pondering.
Oh, it's really good.
I gotta look it up, actually, see who's in it.
Like, there's a little bit of gross out comedy, but like it's never like showing someone vomiting, and no, it's definitely the best movie that's explicitly a Thanksgiving movie. But anyways, it's just really good. I mean, our listeners have probably heard of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
No, I think most people are familiar with it to some degree. Yeah. Like I said, I know of it, but I don't think I've seen it.
Oh man, you should watch it. It's really good. I considered it on our list. I think it's like, what is it, 84% or something?
It probably is. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
well
a classic.
regarded.
That's the thing. I know it's a blind spot on me now.
Yeah, I mean, like Steve Martin plays an asshole, and he's really good at playing an asshole. And then John Candy plays this like oaf, and
yeah.
It's really funny. There's a scene. One of my favorite scenes is when he's selling shower curtain rings to people, like as earrings and stuff, when they need to raise money. His character sells shower curtain rings.
Who is Steve Martin's?
No, John Candy.
John Candy's. That's funny.
It's 93%.
That's
What did we watch
one.
instead? Young Frankenstein. I'd rather watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I give you that.
Come on, man.
It might be. It might
You really
be better.
screwed the pooch.
Hey, it's not my choice, man. What was your choice on that line?
Fargo.
Yeah, you could have picked this.
Yeah.
I've never seen this.
Had you seen Fargo?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
It's just Fargo. I saw when I was like younger,
Yeah.
but it
You had to
was,
see it again.
You had to see it for the.
Well, you'd
adults
seen
and-
Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, and I'm glad I watched it again because I think it's less good than I thought it was before.
Okay.
But I still think it holds
Okay.
historicity.
Well, you know what? Next, it's actually funny that you said that because it ties into our next segment, the 90.
Which actually ties into our previous segment in a different way. So go on, sir. Tell us about the 90s.
I'm lost. But what we're going to do, like we've done every week since we got to... Have we done it every week since we got to 90? No.
I think so.
No, I think we started a little after 90%.
Yeah, I think we started like...
Yeah.
We started maybe the week
Because this is going to be our
before
10th one.
the second or first... Either the week before Albert was with us last time or the week before that. I feel like that's
Yeah,
when we
2 weeks
started.
prior because I did one with Albert.
Yeah.
And since I did the first one, It would have been
That's
2
right.
weeks prior.
Yep.
So that would have been, we started on the 95% line.
Okay. Well, this is
So like we always do since 95% and on.
Yeah.
Max and I pitch ideas for our next podcast. The end is nigh. And it's time to figure out what we're going to do next, because we can't milk this Rotten Tomatoes bullshit anymore.
Nope.
We're to the end of the teat. So Max gets 90 seconds, uninterrupted by me, by nature, by anybody, to pitch that idea, and then you all, the listeners, you tell us what you think, and we're going to do them, maybe. Depends. But now Max has 90 seconds, starting now.
So, we just discussed Thanksgiving movies. It's a small genre of film, and it's not as popular as Christmas movies. But everyone has a favorite Christmas movie. Some people love, like you said, Christmas, what was it, Christmas Vacation? Is that the one you said? Yeah. Anyway, people have a favorite. Some people hate Christmas movies, certain Christmas movies, and some people love that same movie. My pitch is called 52 Elves. We're going to take 52 weeks, a year straight, and watch the movie Elf. Me, a guy who loves the movie, and you, a guy who hates the movie. And each week, we will dissect it. We will get to the bottom of what I like, what you dislike, and then maybe by the end of the 52 weeks, it might even switch. That's right, 52 Elves. 52 weeks of Jon Favreau's famous Christmas movie. We'll start, discussing the making of the film. You go through it. You build out the casting of it, the music. How did they get Peter Dinklage in there? It's before anyone knew who he was before. Like, hey, that guy. We're gonna cover it all over 52 weeks. That's a year of the movie Elf, Scott. So I know what you're thinking right off the bat. No way, Jose. I'm not signing up for that. So thankfully, it's the fans who get to decide with our Piper results if we're gonna do the movie Elf for 52 weeks in a row.
Max, sorry to interrupt you right there, but that is your time.
That is my time.
I have no questions. I wish to no longer discuss the idea. That sounds loathsome to me.
And it sounds like a lot
It's like
of
that.
fun
There's a
to me.
podcast. I think it's called like The Worst Idea Ever or something, where they watch Grown Ups 2. I think
that was
every
it.
week, or maybe every day.
Yeah, that's a lot. They watch it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's an idea.
It is. It is.
I think Elf has very little merit during the Christmas season. So, come May, who knows?
Yeah, man. Wear you down,
Yeah.
Wear you down.
That's actually the name of my book on dating.
Well, we don't have to discuss it too much because that's up for the fans to discuss.
Yeah, so Max did throw into the pitch. He mentioned the Piper. Head on over to thecriticalbreakdown.com and participate in the Piper, the podcast idea power rankings.
Which we'll get up there soon.
Yeah.
I guess we should also get our poll choices up there too.
Oh, yeah, we got our poll choices. I know you, the loyal break clown, know our poll options. But for you, the new break clown, the baby infant break clown, your choices this week for our fan vote are The Wrestler, E.T., Extraterrestrial, Moonlight, and Sense and Sensibility. And if you want to know more, head on over to last week where we talked about them a lot.
Yeah, we did.
But remember that the Critical Breakdown officially endorses The Wrestler in this poll.
Mm-hmm.
The movie that we'll discuss in 48 seconds. The Babadook was an accidental Max choice due to some typing errors on my part, I guess I'll just say. Clerical errors. But make your voice heard there and make your voice heard in the Piper. Web address TBD.
Yeah.
But I guess now it's time to get into Babadook. Enough pussyfooting around. Oh. Sorry, was that too much?
No, it's
okay.
Right up my alley.
Yeah. Oh. Well, Max, what's the plot synopsis for the Babadook?
A widowed mother, plagued by the violent death of her husband, battles with her son's fear of a monster lurking in the house, but soon discovers a sinister presence all around her.
That's a good synopsis.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Very succinct.
Yeah, it hits the points. It's kind of like a family drama / monster movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's marketed as horror, just its reputation as being scary, but like, it's kind of barely out and out horror. Like there are elements for sure, but it's more of a psychological thriller, I would say.
Yeah, so I mean, I know a lot of people at the time when they went and saw it weren't too happy with this film because I think they were expecting the type of horror that's mostly out there now.
Like Halloween or...
just more gory, bloody...
Traditional horror slasher film almost.
And this is much more of a, psychological movie, like you said. There are definitely... I mean, the scares are there. It's horrifying. So I do... It kind of toes the line for me on both sides.
I did a bit of gagging.
Yeah. My favorite part, because you were very freaked out by the portions of this film, which this is my second time seeing it, and I was too. Yeah. I'm not saying that.
Half of my anxiety and freaky outiness in a horror movie is the anticipation. And by sitting down knowing I'm watching a horror movie, I come into it jittery already. So.
But that's not to discredit this film, which does anticipation very well.
Yeah.
I think it's one of its strongest.
It does a lot of the playing with the moments that you would expect the jump and like just withholding things enough and then delivering.
And it doesn't get crazy till the third act.
Yeah.
And that's very smart on their part to just build that.
Yeah.
And it's not even slow. It moves pretty good. But it's a good build up the whole time.
I felt it was a little long at points.
In
the first couple
when you
acts,
don't realize what's going on at first, it's because the kid's.
The kid is annoying.
The kid's grating on you that whole time,
and he's supposed to an extent because he's an annoying kid.
Yeah,
and
they want you on her level too.
Yeah,
so.
But it just annoyed me.
No, and I get that.
I didn't know that this was the source of that. I wouldn't call it like an A-list meme, but there was a meme going around quite a bit. The like, why can't you be normal? Where the scene is the mother turning around at her screaming kids and says like, why can't you be normal? And then the kid's like screaming and doing stuff. So they'll do the meme where it's like the mom is the UN turns around the kids to the US and the caption will be like eats Tide Pod or something like that.
I've seen one with a Trump thing before too. Yeah, like election day.
Yeah.
There's another meme that started at this too because Netflix one time accidentally listed when they first had the Babadook when it came out on there. They listed it as an LGBT movie.
Oh.
And so there was this long running meme in the gay community and just on internet in general, but that it perfectly represents like the coming out experience or the gay experience. And people would write these like fake essays like pulling parallels in there. It's pretty funny actually, but just for the whole thing, not even just like a single portion of the movie, just like across the board, they would find things in there. And then I believe at one Pride Parade somewhere they had like the Babadook himself as a honored guest. Like I don't know if it was photoshopped or real, but they really leaned on it, and I appreciate the humor of that.
That's a community where creativity is cultivated and valued. And they did a really good job there.
But no, this film. So it's
this film's Australian
for fear.
Put another film on the Barbie, Jennifer.
It's directed and written by Jennifer Kent, who she made a short film of this called Monster, which I have not seen. I usually look up the short films, but
apparently when it was first released on Blu-ray and DVD, it was like packaged together.
Makes sense.
And I don't know if sometimes a short film is like a 5-minute thing, and sometimes it's like a 25-minute thing.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. There's I think under an hour. I think it's like 40 minutes or something can still be considered a.
I could have sworn Ice Age was like 55 minutes.
Yeah, so maybe it's like 30 minutes or something.
I don't know.
But there are some limits to short films, and some are longer than the others. Yeah. Usually, like for me,
films.
it's like 5 to 15 minutes. Let's stay there. But
that's what I think too.
Yeah.
But.
No, this one I didn't see the short, but she immediately knew once she made it that she wanted to revisit the idea.
Yeah, this is like an idea that she'd wanted to make. Because she's made other films. This is easily her largest release. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, she has a film that either came out this year or is coming out. Yeah. I don't remember the name of it, but I think there was an actor I recognized in it. But
that sounds about right.
Yeah, but she went to film school with Eddie Davis. Is that right?
Edie Davis. I think.
Edie Davis. Yeah. Eddie.
Or Essie. It's Essie Davis.
Essie Davis. Yeah, okay, that was a typo then. Who plays the lead, Amelia, the mother.
Yes.
Yep.
And she, for our common listeners, for our casual,
for the common man,
for casual folks out there who don't know her, you might know her from Game of Thrones. She played the actress in the play who was playing Cersei.
Very minor role.
And then she also leads in a Australian show, I want to say, but I've never seen it. It's Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. I've seen it on different things, but Like I've seen it on streaming services, but I never watched it. But that's probably her three biggest roles would be those three.
Yeah.
So,
but there's not really any big names in this at all.
No,
like,
no.
I didn't even recognize anyone from anything. And it's because it's like an Australian production and everything.
It's
so
Australian indie film. Yeah.
even your OTGs from the US aren't going to find their way across the pond.
Like there'd be moments where I'm like, oh, do I know that guy? And then I'm like, I don't know that person at all.
Yeah.
So
we've been on quite the Australian kick.
Yeah. We have.
Angry Max. So they called it over there, actually.
Did they?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Nope.
I like how you said it, though. Yeah. It was good.
The movie made $10 million worldwide.
How much was it made for?
2.5.
That's profit,
that
baby.
Mooney.
That's profit.
And it made like $900K US, so it didn't get.
I was gonna say, since then, I wonder how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably had some life on the streaming platforms.
Because I know it's well regarded critically, and
not available free anywhere.
Nope. And so if you want to watch, you got to rent it.
So if you're a dope like us, you got to rent it.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's pretty well regarded critically. I know William
98%.
98%. William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist, said this film that he's never seen a more terrifying film than The Babadook.
I wonder if he has gone through any tragedy in his life.
I don't know. Do you think that would reflect?
Well, I do, because not to say that you can't enjoy the movie if you haven't, but one of the core conflicts at the heart of the movie is Amelia's husband died in a car wreck when they were on their way to deliver her precious Samuel into the world, and she's clearly racked with like PTSD or just depression.
I'd say both.
Yeah, and that is basically the core conflict of the movie.
Yeah,
because the Babadook is this mystical creature, you could call it, that supernatural. Yeah, it starts as this children's book, but even the ways that throughout especially in the third act, that the supernatural force manifests itself, it shows her husband and she like wants to be with him, but she has to realize that he's a monster and things like that. And so it's very clearly around that. And the first act in particular goes to great lengths to show her struggles with raising Samuel, who, while on one hand he is a little shit, all kids kind of are to an extent. And it's hard for a single mother, especially with the tragedies that she went through, I can imagine. And I don't think... I can't remember the specific things they might have said, but it didn't feel like she had properly addressed or moved on from those things.
There seemed to be, because you got to think their relationship, while it just exists in the bottle of the film that we're watching, it existed obviously since the day she gave birth to him, which was the exact day that her husband died in the car accident. And they've shown snippets of like what happens right before, just hints at it. But and he mentions it constantly because, for him, he's a kid. He's just going to say it flat out.
Yeah. No tact on this, Samuel.
No. But, I mean, I get it, though, because when you're like 5 or 6, you just say exactly what you're thinking. The kid was super irritating, and it is on purpose. But this time watching it, I had a lot more sympathy for him than I did the first time I watched it.
Yeah, maybe
knowing
seeing
the full
whole
story.
God, I had no sympathy
because
for him.
About halfway through, you see her switch from just being like a distraught, like worn down mother to actually being verbally abusive at points.
Snaps.
And you got to think like, yes, because the evil has manifested itself like physically as an actual thing and is kind of taking her over. She's probably snapped before once or twice.
Yeah.
And he has issues, obviously, a lot of issues, but she's also probably been distant at times.
Yeah.
So just like watching it this time, I was kind of piecing together little like hints at things where it's like, okay, yeah, this kid's the worst. But he's a kid, Oh. And
they all are.
well, it's just like
no, I get it. I get what you're saying.
It's hard to sympathize with him fully when you're just seeing the story the first time, I think. But no, but he is. I mean, that kid plays him perfectly for what he needs to be.
Noah Wiseman.
Yeah,
and I don't think he's been in anything else.
Yeah, she went to a lot of lengths to make sure he was kind of protected during the filming, not letting him know.
Not the first time we've heard that.
Yeah,
so
it's also there's been cases where they don't do that. It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, having a kid on a horror set like that can be probably damaging.
So I think when she was being like verbally abusive and stuff, like I don't think he was actually in the frame. I think they just composited him afterwards.
That's good.
So stuff like that just to make sure he doesn't hear a mother figure
about that, but
being mean. But you can't tell, so that's good. I mean, it's doesn't look cheesy at all.
That's the beauty of a reverse shot.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so hearing the critic, or not even critic, the director of The Exorcist, considered one of the classic horror films, say it's the scariest movie he's ever seen. I wonder if there's any personal anything to draw from with that too. But
I think one
maybe
thing
I'm in too deep.
Well, one thing I identified with the film also is we all kind of carry emotional issues and emotional distress, and it does sometimes make it, it feels like there's a monster haunting you at times. And if you're dealing with depression, you can't really get rid of it at times. It's just with you always. Yeah. And that's like a huge theme in this movie.
Yeah, and it's not like a physical manifestation. So when you talk to other people,
so like
other
can
people
you
hear this person?
You know, exactly. Like they can't tell that you're dealing with these things. So I think maybe he's dealt with some stuff like that in his life, and you just kind of, it's terrifying to deal with that when you watch it. But what
was his name? Friedkin. Love to have you on the pod. Let's talk through it. Yeah, I mean, the story is pretty simple, and it's just kind of permutations throughout it. But the supernatural side of the story is the Samuel little shit finds a book to read at night, and it's like this terrifying kid's book, and she's like, okay, we're not reading this anymore, and puts him to bed, and he's very scared of monsters.
Please. And then she finally says, okay. She reads like 2 pages, and it cuts to him bawling.
Which, I mean, I don't remember the exact language of the book.
Portion,
but then she like goes downstairs and is reading through it, and if I remember correctly, at that point, it was saying like very specific things about them.
Yeah.
It like,
showed a lot
mommy
of
is going to kill baby and doggy and self.
Yeah.
So she tears the pages out, throws the book away, and then it shows up the next day on her doorstep. And she's like, what the
reassembled.
fuck? Yeah, reassembled. She tries to go to the police and say she's being stalked, and they're not buying into it.
Well, and
more happens.
Because she burns the book immediately when it shows back up, which I feel is kind of a natural response. But then goes to the police, and they're like,
and more has been happening. Like, so she's more unhinged when the book shows up. And
she hasn't slept in days because of her son.
So she burns the book. The police are like, like, what do you want us to do? Like, where's the book? She's like, I burned it. And then I think she sees the Babadook in the background of this scene.
She sees his top hat and coat and claw hands just like on the coat rack.
That's right. God. So then she runs away. She scampers off, and then the final act is pretty much like she is, for all intents and purposes, possessed.
Yeah.
And she's going after Samuel, and then Samuel has to stop her, just with some little stabbings, a little catapult action, and then they're able to kind of expunge the Babadook from their lives to an extent.
Yeah.
Because it still lives in their basement.
Yeah, it's a neat version of a horror movie ending, where a lot of horror movies end with you think they're safe, and then it reveals that the monster's still going to get them or something.
Yeah.
You know, there's that double, like the
like in Halloween, the breathing at the end.
Yeah, or with Jason coming out of the lake. You know, stuff like that is like standard affair. It usually works pretty good for that final scare. This one takes a whole different approach, and instead it's still kind of freaky, but she
definitely hits home with the themes.
Yeah, and she basically tells her son, go outside and play, don't come in the house for a while, you know. Mommy has to do something. And then she goes in the basement and feeds worms to, which they don't even show it in this form.
Yeah, it's just like a darkness.
It's like a POV kind of thing, but she's basically compartmentalized that darkness down into the basement, which is like representational of her, I guess, compartmentalizing and what's it called, unpacking and dealing with her emotional issues she has.
Yeah, it's like it's never something that she'd be able to, okay, I'm okay now. Yeah. It's something that she'd always have to deal with, and it was just like a very cool way to show it's still present, still something you'll have to deal with, but it's okay because they're significantly happier at this point in the movie.
Yeah, like she's kind of turned a new leaf, and he is better for it himself.
Yeah,
like she's listening to him now, because I noticed that too. Like she wouldn't listen to his concerns, and he's a kid. He's 5 or 6. You know,
I mean, his concerns were like, "There's a monster under the bed," and so she has to check.
So it sounds like he's being a shit. She checks, but then like there legitimately was a monster.
So then she's like, "All right, I'll listen to you, Sam, Sammy boy."
Yeah, so it kind of plays out. My biggest complaint is this does have a dog death in it. Especially because none of the other like characters die in the movie.
It was pretty needless, I would say. The only thing I would say that it serves is that sort of prophecy that the book had foretold of her killing the dog, then killing him, then killing herself. By having the dog death, it seems like, okay, all of this is going to happen.
Yeah, and on the scale
so it's a bit of a fake out, but
I get it. Yeah. You know, on the scale of it, like that makes sense to start there and build up towards your child and yourself, or, you know.
It's like just, it's still tough to watch.
It's brutal, but it's tough. Yeah. They did kind of save it in the film, though, and I thought it was pretty smart on the writing and editing and, you know, direction of the film. immediately after doing something as gruesome as killing a dog, she reaches into her mouth and pulls out her tooth that's been bad and bothering her, and it's just so gross to see that it like shocks you out of that shocked moment you're already in.
The sound of it was awful.
Yeah.
The part that got me was a little later. They're in the basement and she's just vomiting black blood.
This, and I won't quote what you were saying beforehand because I can't remember it, but you were in the middle of making a pretty funny, maybe vulgar joke in the middle of it, and you had just said a word, and I was ready to laugh, and then you switched to yourself gurgle vomiting in response to seeing it.
To rank the Scott near vomit moments of the podcast, number 1 is Master of Disguise. I got really close.
Yeah.
Number 2 was The Witch, when the kid upchucks the whole apple.
Yeah.
That I don't know why, but it made me like I get why, but that made me gag so much harder.
I think you turned purple during that.
What'd you say?
I think you turned purple during
Probably,
that. Like, you just couldn't even breathe.
Yeah. You had to buy a new couch recently because I broke the arms off the old one. And then this would probably be number 3. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other.
I've seen you throw some punches, but as far as gagging from fright,
yeah, like I like to punch a thigh, I like to punch a knee, punch a thigh during a scary moment, to ground me again in my seat.
I've seen you do that.
But that's different than them moments.
I will give Jodie credit for probably the best line of all time dealing with your fright, which was during Hereditary. She said it looked like you were going to labor at points.
She said it looked like I was giving birth.
Yeah.
I'm doing better, though, man.
Yeah, man.
This is 2 horror movies in like a month.
This for the year, I think you've probably beat like your record,
Yeah.
I'd say.
I would, too.
I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm not.
What I like is that I didn't even pick this one.
It had me fooled.
Literally.
Yeah, I pulled a fast one on myself.
Yeah.
The one thing that's a little interesting about the movie, and it's comical at first, but then like with all the themes playing out, it kind of works. But the actual creature that you get glimpse of like 4 times in the movie, that is the Babadook, which is like the cover art of the book and probably the DVD and poster and all that. It's like this guy with like a big top hat and like a white and black striped suit. The first time they show him, it's in a earned like scare moment. They've done the camera work and the music just right to something's gonna happen. And he jumps out and he's just this kind of like, he looks like a rejected McDonald's, like a rejected Hamburglar. And it's just so funny looking in the midst of a scary moment. But then it kind of works because the scare isn't like, for the characters, for Amelia, the scares aren't like these physical manifestations, it's her mental state. So the fact that it's not like this terrifying clear monster that that would scare anyone kind of
like
fits.
It's not a creature feature, basically. Yeah, you don't have like a slimy demonoid thing. It's this weird looking dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, he shows up, you get maybe 4 glimpses at him full on.
And the scares he has for the most part work. Like there's another one later on, like kind of entering the 3rd act, where she's looking out the window in her neighbor's house and her neighbor's just watching TV, and it cuts back to her face and cuts again, and you could just see him like staring at her in the background, and it's freaky.
Yeah,
that's the one that freaked me out the most,
because he looks like hyper realistic there.
Yeah,
it doesn't look cartoony at all.
Yeah,
like they changed it, or just the distance.
He's just like the distance and in someone else's house maybe is part of it too. But
that one's really creepy.
So there's a couple like that. But then towards the end, the Babadook or creature, whatever you want to call it, really turns itself into her manifestations, which is her husband, or just like a general darkness. And then you mentioned the POV shot, like at the end. They did a lot of that in this movie, which was interesting. I don't know that it always worked.
I can't think of any that didn't work for me, but if you have one,
they never explicitly didn't work, but they never explicitly were needed.
Yeah,
really,
that's true.
Because like it would be Samuel's POV walking or going to someone else's house, and would look up at his mom and then look at the person and like look back, and I mean, I don't know, it just didn't add anything. It doesn't really necessarily take anything away, but it's noticeable that they're doing this different camera work.
Yeah,
but
no, I get that. It bothered you. For me,
I mean, it didn't bother me.
Well, I'm saying like if you're it just seems pointless. I get that is what I'm saying. Like it just seems like a choice, but for me, I didn't notice it, so I can't claim it. But,
they probably did it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But and another thing I liked was, and especially when you look at it with like the depression angle and stuff, and how do you really battle back from that, and it's tough to explain to people. There were people in her life who were her friends and were very bad to her.
Yes.
Like not really understanding, just telling her, well, it's time to move on. Like do this. You've changed. You're a bad person now. Your son's a little shithead, which I rooted for when people called him out. But But then there are also people who are like very much trying to help her,
Yeah.
and she rejects all of it equally. Like their neighbor is this very sweet old woman.
Yeah.
And at one point in the movie, she has to drop Samuel off with her, and when she picks him up, the neighbor's like, anything you need, you know I love you both so much, and I'm happy to help literally whenever.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, Mrs. Potts,
back
like
off,
I
lady.
get it.
Yeah.
And
then
so I think that's interesting because it's like if you're truly depressed and stuff, it's hard to get out of that. You know, it's like you fell down a well.
And was it her sister had the birthday party with?
That's what I was thinking of, like her friend. It was either
it's a friend or a sister. I don't remember,
sister-in-law maybe.
Because I think they kept referring to cousin. So
yeah,
but I don't
like,
know if that's just like a friend thing.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But yeah, so basically, she was being super shitty.
Yeah.
Some of it felt justified because of how Sam acts and all that, and even though when you see the full picture, when you see like his cousin or his friend is saying, you don't have a dad, and
like you're not even cool enough to have a dad, you
like,
little turd.
You suck. You don't have a dad. Stuff like that.
And what's tough about that is like I agreed with the bully. Like he sucks, but it's just like different reasons. Yeah.
But no, so in that situation, you get why he would push a kid out of a clubhouse, a treehouse.
Yeah.
They just see the push. They see Crazy Sam doing it.
Yeah.
And so she's ostracized from the shitty group of friends anyway.
Yeah.
But
the shitty group of friends, they're all like, "Oh, you used to do crafts with us, Amelia," and she's like, "Yeah, I haven't had time for that. My husband's dead."
what I like here is Jennifer Kent, the director, stylistically dressed the ladies, I think, all in blacks and grays.
Yeah.
Like darker, muted colors, and
similarly.
And she was wearing more kind of a brighter tone, even though she's the person like coming under the depression the whole time.
Yeah.
But it kind of just shows the isolation and stuff like that, and how
Sets
everything
her apart.
is less vibrant in her life. Because the colors are like they're kind of muted, but they're not.
Yeah, they are muted.
They're not tinted towards any one way or the other. They're still real life colors, but it's just kind of a muted palette. And towards the end, I feel like the last scene felt brighter, but it might have just been a lighter scene.
Yeah.
Because you go through like a whole act of darkness.
Yeah, of like a nighttime house hunt.
But physically, like the formalistic, conventions like that, I think are pretty cool in this movie on that side.
Yeah.
The romantic interest from her coworker was comical. It doesn't really fall to either side of that, but it does kind of match the depression thing in a way.
It shows that she's just like not.
Yeah, she's like not even noticing that this dude's trying his best to court her.
He's like buying her flowers, picking up her shifts, buying her son toys, and she's just like, okay, go.
Later.
Time to leave Hank. I don't know
Yeah.
his name. But.
And then I think the biggest way that it affects is like the social workers there. They're not trying to catch her doing bad. They're just literally checking on both of them to make sure they're okay. And it reads the first time very much like, we're going to take your kid from you.
Yeah.
But then when they come back in the end after the whole event,
Yeah.
it's like a nice cordial visit, basically. Yeah. So it's
I wonder if there's anything with that where it's like when you're really down on your luck and not in a good mental state, it feels like these outward pressures are all out to get you to an extent.
I assume so. Yeah. I mean, it would be hard to deal with. For sure in her state. I mean, she had been like by that point without sleep for days.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, that's true too. Can you imagine not sleeping for days?
I think I tried once.
I'm thinking about a nap right now.
Yeah. When I was younger, I think I went a couple days like barely sleeping, and you don't feel good.
No.
But I was just doing it for fun, and then I regretted it. I kept thinking
like that wasn't fun.
I was riding around with a friend on the highway late at night, and I kept thinking there were bears on the road, and I kept yelling, "Watch out for those bears!" And he said, "You need to go to sleep." And then I passed out.
And you woke up in the hospital bed. Yeah, I pulled an all-nighter once for college for an exam that I then slept through.
Yeah.
Pulled an all-nighter to study, then slept through the actual exams.
My college story with that is I pulled an all-nighter. I wrote the full outline of like a 25-page paper and then decided to write it the night before it was due. So I had the outline, all the notes, the citation page.
Like you went through your prep work and then just stopped until the night it was due.
Yes.
Very good.
And then I wrote 25 pages in a single night.
Yeah.
And
that explains why you're here.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I review Australian movies on a podcast.
Yeah. So next, let's talk about you. What are you depressed about right now? I'm just kidding. I don't want to do that.
Where do I
don't want you to return the question to me.
Yeah. Where do I start?
Now, it's an interesting movie.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not my favorite of the horror movies I've watched this year. I think Hereditary deals with a lot of the same themes, but in a much more spooky way. Like in the Babadook, it's very much the personal struggle is the core of the story.
Mm-hmm.
In Hereditary, there's a lot more going on, but like the mother in Hereditary has to deal with a lot of crap happening, and that's not the focus of the story by the end, because there's a lot more going on there, and there's a lot more supernatural things going on there.
But they both accept their supernatural quandaries as fact, but that one very much is based around that aspect more.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to see the two different directions. And if you handed me both Blu-rays and you're like, you got to watch one of these, I would probably watch Hereditary.
This time, I would go Babadook.
Yeah.
Probably
and I mean, I respect that too.
I get it.
But I found more to enjoy personally in Hereditary.
That's fair.
Because I think I just enjoy like the fact that there was so much weird supernatural stuff in Hereditary.
I like the weird supernatural stuff in Hereditary.
Yeah.
My beef with that movie, I can tell you what it is right here, right now.
I know it. It's not the topic of the pod. You can if you want.
For all the listeners out there, that movie lost me when, I don't even remember the character's name, when the son is driving home and his sister's head gets lobbed off in the car. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. There be spoilers.
I'll snip in a little bit. I'm about to talk about Hereditary. If you haven't seen it, jump ahead like 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
I don't know. Might be done by then. Anyway. So obviously, the sister's dead. He goes home. He goes to bed. He's in shock. I get that. It just never gelled with me how the parents were like, it's an accident. Like they just were so blasé about it. And for me, it just seemed unrealistic. I couldn't get back in the movie after that because I feel like cops would investigate that no matter what.
I feel like if they did investigate, though, I mean, like, what are they going to find?
He's high. He's high on drugs. He's drinking, and he's 17 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot there that I think, for me, thinking about, and I was also thinking like, and this part's really dumb and personal, but I'm Hispanic, and if I had a sibling who I did that to by accident, my parents would probably break my arms like that next morning. So for me, that's just like a personal note that I'm like, I don't get the parent reaction at all. But so it lost me after that, and the writing couldn't bring me back in. I loved the visuals of that movie, and I loved like a lot of aspects of it. The pacing and editing are really on point. The music's really spooky, but I just could not. None of it worked for me after that.
Yeah, see, because that didn't even register to me as an issue, and maybe it is a difference in upbringing or things like that. Yeah. Like, I couldn't imagine, if that happened to my kid, like pressing charges against my own son.
The state would investigate it because the state can choose to do stuff.
Yeah, but even in that case, it's like, look at Manchester by the Sea. When the house burns, more spoilers, double here be spoilers, but the house burns down. Casey was on cocaine and drinking and stuff. The state doesn't press charges there either.
Yeah, but I mean, they had him in there, and he tried to shoot himself in the head, and to me, that felt.
But at that point, they'd already decided not to press charges.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, and I see what you're saying there as that, but this movie could have showed that. This movie could have showed him in a police office, and
I see what you mean. Yeah.
He's messed up. Yeah. He needs a therapist. He doesn't need jail time, and then I'd be like,
there is a bit of a skip ahead in time.
So the way that it skips, they never address it. They never address like even a one-off line saying. The husband saying, we should have really talked to that police officer more, and the mom saying, are you crazy? I lost one kid, I'm not going to lose two. I'd have been like, okay, I'm back in. I get it. There was just nothing like that. And for me, it's a very small part, but it's a small enough crack where I just couldn't, I couldn't emotionally engage with it.
Sure.
Then. So I didn't find the rest of it scary. I just found it fun, like cool looking to watch.
Yeah.
From the technical side of it.
Right.
Yeah. But I see a lot of merits in it as a film, and I get if that didn't bother anyone.
Yeah. Cool. There was enough of a passage of time that I just assumed.
Yeah.
But.
Everyone has that one thing with movies here and there,
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
But on that note, I would definitely pick the Babadook.
There you go.
In that scenario. But there's other scenarios where I would pick Hereditary to give it another shot, see if it worked better for me a second time. I'm not averse to
That's the next 90. We alternate every week. Max makes me watch Elf, and I make Max watch Hereditary. No, I mean, I'm not even that in on Hereditary.
Yeah, I got you, man. I got you.
I have no more thoughts on the Babadook.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
It's a real Babadookie. If it was bad, I would have said that.
Yeah. Bad.
And I still needed to. Max, where can the good people find us?
You can find us knocking kids out of tree houses or at thecriticalbreakdown.com. Go to that web address /vote to
Boom.
vote in our poll.
Yeah.
Our episode after next week.
Yeah.
You can find me bringing gifts to Essie Davis at home while I'm covering her shifts. Or you can find me at Max Rivera Film on Twitter.
You can find me and the other neighborhood moms hosting posh parties and mocking our depressed neighbors. Or you can find me at breakdown_Scott on Instagram and Twitter and those two. Or you can find me at Stenin2 on Letterboxd. Hundreds of people have already followed me from this. Thank you guys so much.
For the fans.
The popularity, it's been swelling, going to my head. Truly, thank you. I feel very #blessed. We are also #blessed to have Jason Brown doing our music.
And Josh Rivera doing our artwork.
Yeah. Wally's the podcast little shit.
And we're podcast big shits.
Oh.
Next week.
No, I thought of something. Okay.
What you got?
Ask me, what should we say now?
What should we say now?
Say anything.
Next week.
No. It's say anything, so just go rated 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. So no next week?
I mean, I think that's implied.
Let's just use that as our ending.
Okay.
Unless you had another bit you want me to work
Okay. No, that was the bit.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't
I think it's pretty funny.
We didn't land the bit, but okay.
I'll say I landed my part.
I'll say I beg to differ.